Greek civilization is one of the most profound and lasting legacies in the history of the world. Its influence has shaped Western culture in countless ways, from philosophy and art to politics and science. Our journey begins in the prehistoric era, around 7000 BCE. The earliest inhabitants of Greece lived in small farming communities during the Neolithic period. These early settlers marked the dawn of Greek civilization by domesticating animals, cultivating crops, and crafting pottery. These seemingly simple acts laid the foundation for a society that would eventually give rise to one of the most significant cultures in human history. As we move forward to the Cycladic and Minoan civilizations, we find the first great cultures of the Aegean. The Cycladic civilization, flourishing on the Cyclades Islands, is best known for its distinctive marble figurines, which offer a glimpse into the art and religious practices of the time. Around 2000 BCE, the Minoan civilization emerged on the island of Crete. The Minoans built sophisticated palaces, the most famous being Knossos, a sprawling complex that served as the center of their civilization. The Minoans were skilled seafarers, establishing a powerful maritime empire that dominated the eastern Mediterranean. The Minoan civilization was marked by a rich culture, vibrant art, and an economy based on trade. By 1600 BCE, the Minoan influence began to wane, and the Mycenaean civilization rose to prominence on mainland Greece. The Mycenaeans are perhaps best known for their role in the legendary Trojan War, a conflict immortalized in Homer's epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey. Their fortified cities, like Mycenae, Tiryns and Pylos, were centers of power and culture. The Mycenaean civilization was a warrior society, with a strong emphasis on military strength and heroism, values that would resonate throughout Greek history. However, around 1100 BCE, the Mycenaean civilization mysteriously collapsed. The reasons for this collapse are still debated by historians, but it is likely that a combination of natural disasters, internal strife, and invasions by the so-called Sea Peoples contributed to the downfall. This ushered in a period known as the Greek Dark Ages, a time of significant decline. During the Dark Ages, the population of Greece decreased dramatically, and literacy was lost. Yet, even in this time of decline, Greek culture endured. Oral traditions, such as the epic tales of Homer, were passed down through generations, preserving the memory of a heroic past. These stories would later be written down, becoming the cornerstone of Greek literature. By around 800 BCE, Greece began to emerge from its Dark Ages, entering a period of revival known as the Archaic period. City-states like Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and Thebes became powerful entities, each with its own government, economy, and military. The concept of citizenship was born during this time, with individuals identifying themselves as members of a particular polis. This sense of civic identity was central to Greek life, influencing everything from politics and military service to religion and culture. Population growth and limited resources led to a wave of colonization during the Archaic period. Greek city-states established colonies around the Mediterranean and Black Seas, spreading Greek culture far and wide. These colonies were independent of their mother cities but maintained strong cultural and economic ties. The spread of Greek culture through colonization led to increased trade, wealth, and the exchange of ideas across the Mediterranean. One of the most significant developments of the Archaic period was the creation of the Greek alphabet. The Greeks adapted the Phoenician alphabet to suit their own language, creating a writing system that would become the foundation for Greek literature, history, and philosophy. This new alphabet made literacy more accessible, and allowed for the recording of laws, poetry, and historical events. Various forms of government developed across the Greek world, including monarchies, oligarchies, and tyrannies. In Athens, the seeds of democracy were planted, with reforms that gradually gave more power to the citizenry. Culturally, the Archaic period was a time of significant artistic and intellectual achievement. The works of poets like Homer and Hesiod became central to Greek culture, while advances in sculpture and pottery set the stage for the artistic achievements of the classical period. As we move into the classical period, beginning around 480 BCE, we enter what is often considered the pinnacle of Greek civilization. This era was marked by extraordinary achievements in art, philosophy, politics, and science, laying the foundation for much of Western culture. The Persian Wars, fought between the Greek city-states and the vast Persian Empire, were a defining moment in Greek history. Against all odds, the Greeks, led by Athens and Sparta, successfully repelled the Persian invasions. Key battles, such as Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis, have become legendary, symbolizing the bravery and resilience of the Greeks. The victory over Persia fostered a sense of shared identity among the Greek city-states, despite their often fierce rivalries. This sense of unity, however, would not last long. The classical period also saw the rise of Athens as the dominant power in Greece, leading to the Golden Age of Athens under the leadership of Pericles. During this time, Athens became the cultural and intellectual heart of the Greek world. The city's wealth and power were reflected in the construction of the Parthenon, a symbol of Athenian democracy and artistic achievement. Pericles promoted the arts, philosophy, and the democratic ideals that would come to define Athens. It was in Athens that some of the greatest minds in history lived and worked. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the foundations of Western thought, exploring questions of ethics, politics, and the nature of reality. Their ideas have influenced countless generations and continue to be studied and debated today. The classical period also produced remarkable advances in the arts. Greek drama reached new heights with playwrights like Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes, whose works are still performed today. These plays explored complex themes of human nature, morality, and the consequences of hubris. In sculpture, artists like Phidias and Polykleitos created works that celebrated the beauty and idealism of the human form, setting standards that would influence Western art for centuries. However, the prosperity and cultural achievements of Athens were not without their costs. The growing power of Athens led to tensions with other Greek city-states, particularly Sparta. These tensions eventually erupted into the Peloponnesian War, a devastating conflict that pitted Athens against Sparta and their respective allies. The Peloponnesian War lasted for nearly 3 decades and ultimately led to the downfall of Athens. The war weakened the Greek city-states, leaving them vulnerable to outside forces and marking the end of the classical period. Following the Peloponnesian War, Greece entered a period of instability and decline. However, it was during this time that a new power began to rise in the north, Macedon. Under the leadership of King Philip II, Macedon gradually extended its influence over the Greek city-states. But it was Philip's son, Alexander the Great, who would truly change the course of history. The Hellenistic period, which began with Alexander's conquests, marked a new chapter in Greek history. Alexander the Great, a military genius and charismatic leader, embarked on a campaign of conquest that created one of the largest empires in history. His empire stretched from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India, spreading Greek culture across 3 continents. Alexander's campaigns not only expanded Greek territory but also facilitated the exchange of ideas and cultures. The Hellenistic period was characterized by a fusion of Greek and Eastern cultures, leading to new developments in art, architecture, philosophy, and science. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his empire fragmented into several Hellenistic kingdoms, each ruled by one of his generals. The most notable of these kingdoms were the Ptolemaic kingdom in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire in Asia, and the Antigonid dynasty in Macedonia. These kingdoms were centers of learning and culture, where Greek and local traditions blended to create a rich and diverse cultural landscape. The city of Alexandria in Egypt became the intellectual hub of the Hellenistic world. Its famous library, one of the largest in the ancient world, attracted scholars from all over the Mediterranean. Alexandria was a melting pot of cultures and ideas, where Greek, Egyptian, Persian, and Indian influences came together to create new forms of knowledge and art. Despite the achievements of the Hellenistic period, the Greek world was gradually losing its independence. Internal strife and external pressures weakened the Hellenistic kingdoms, making them vulnerable to the rising power of Rome. By 31 BCE, following the defeat of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, Egypt and the rest of the Hellenistic world fell under Roman control. However, the legacy of Greek civilization did not end with its conquest by Rome. On the contrary, Greek culture continued to thrive under Roman rule, influencing every aspect of Roman life. The Romans were deeply inspired by Greek art, architecture, religion, and philosophy, and they adopted many aspects of Greek culture into their own. Greek philosophy and science laid the foundation for much of Western intellectual tradition. Thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle shaped the course of Western thought, exploring fundamental questions about the nature of reality, ethics, and human existence. Their works continue to be studied and revered today, forming the basis of much of modern philosophy. In science, Greek scholars made groundbreaking contributions that set the stage for future advancements. Figures like Archimedes, Euclid, and Hippocrates made significant strides in mathematics, physics, and medicine. Their discoveries and methods laid the groundwork for future developments in these fields, influencing scientists and thinkers for centuries to come. Greek art and architecture also left a lasting legacy. The emphasis on proportion, balance, and beauty in Greek art set standards that continue to be admired and emulated today. The Parthenon, with its perfect proportions and intricate sculptures, remains one of the most iconic and influential buildings in the history of architecture. The legacy of Greece is not just a relic of the past, it is a living tradition that continues to inspire and shape the world we live in today.